in Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Well, good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. That's our guy, Chris. I'll tell you, he's got other music. He doesn't just do this. Although he's good at it. So if he just went
Make it creative, doing intro songs. Just
check out the honestmistakes.bandcamp.com to find out more of his music. Maybe we throw a link up to that as well. The honestmistakes.bandcamp.com. Appreciate him doing that for us. All right, it is a Tuesday edition of the show. Lots of hoops today. As not just me continuing to watch the 24/7 stream of One Shining Moment, but we all are also going to do that. I didn't weep yesterday when we got through 2002. I kept it together.
yeah, come on.
I looked up. It got my full. I don't know. It was somewhere in the afternoon. It got my full attention, and I just smiled.
I asked Glenn what where he was when that happened.
Had a whole conversation about how I was going to go to Atlanta, but then my idiot friends didn't. There were steps in the process that needed to be completed, and they didn't bother to complete them. They were like, "Don't you have like grandparents that live there?" I'm like, "Yes, but we can't." They live, first of all, 2 hours outside of Atlanta.
They live in Georgia.
Fine.
I thought Atlanta was Georgia.
But we also weren't going to have like 5 idiot buddies crash in my grandparents' farmhouse.
Don't they understand it was Maryland?
Yeah, I
playing
understand.
in the Final
And I went
Four?
down there for the Peach Bowl. I stayed with my grandparents, but that was for one night. Then we went back and stayed in Atlanta the next night. But I was like, that's not an option. And I think that like the rest of them at all. All right, I don't know why we're doing this. The rest of them at all like convinced themselves that was the answer was just going to be, oh, we're just crashing at Glenn's grandparents' house. And I was like, no, we need to find a room. Now we could all stay in one room. It was fine. Like that wasn't going to be an issue for a hotel because we were going to be partying, ripping it up, the whole thing. But we needed still a room. That part of the plan never came together. Then we also realized that the guy that was in charge of tickets never got the tickets.
Oh, so you're going to live on the ticket guy now.
And then I was like...
Well, he knew that you weren't securing a place.
Well,
so.
I had agreed that I would do the driving. Like, I had agreed that we could all ride in my car.
Yeah, but you had
despite the fact that, if I remember correctly, my car likely was going to fall apart somewhere in Virginia. Like,
then that's an even better
story.
story.
Think it was... I think it might have been a Ford.
You guys could have done a road trip.
That was the... Yeah. Could have rented a school bus, the whole thing. Alas, I was in College Park the night of the title, and I was putting things on the fire, and then thinking to myself, I bet this person's going to recognize tomorrow they needed this computer chair, like this desk chair. I think they're going to recognize
this computer.
Yeah, this computer. They might have this actual couch that's going into the fire right now. I just feel like maybe that was necessary. All right, a lot to do on the program today. A lot of hoops talk. Donny Lind from Mount St. Mary's is going to join us in a few minutes, head coach of the Mountaineers. He'll tell us all about how it came together that his team made the run to winning the MAAC title and going to the NCAA Tournament. Also this morning, Seth Greenberg from ESPN, Raphael Davis, Big Ten Network, our buddy Patrick Stevens, all going to join us. We'll get their thoughts on Maryland, on the brackets, the whole kit and caboodle this morning, coming up here on a Tuesday edition of GCR. We are probably about the halfway. I have this issue where I looked at my Venmo yesterday, and I sent you a bunch.
9 worth.
And then you got it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then I looked, and I had entries for 13 more people's worth.
Oh, well done.
In my Venmo.
Good job, everyone.
Well, the problem is I don't have 13 more. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 more. And so there's there's 5 people that are like, I don't know how to explain this. I was sent 13 people's worth of payments, but I only have 8 of the people. Yeah, it's very confusing. There are 5. So at the point
are you talking about like the actual group?
At the point,
or
no.
Oh,
at
you're
the point
just
at which
strictly Venmo.
I Venmo'd you this $40.
Yeah.
The account was empty.
Okay.
$0, right? Because I try to keep separation of church and state, right?
Obviously.
I then have 8 more people that sent me $20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Ben in San Francisco, Stecca got in. Good guy Stecca. KZ got in. Tim in Bel Air got in. Our friend Jen Babish, Jeff Turner down in Florida. A lot of great people got in. Like them all. But I don't have $160 now in the account. I have $260.
Oh, sweet.
So there's 5.
Well,
now,
are you looking at each individual payment?
Yes.
Nobody gave like $40?
No, they all gave $20. So I think the answer might be our friend Ryan Flanders was planning to get in for 5 entries because he was going to have like his whole family was going to get in, all the kids, the whole deal. So that might be the $100, but why it doesn't show up on my list of transactions, I don't know. Is there something on Venmo where you could like anonymously send people money now? Is that plausible?
Do you want me to look at it? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I don't.
Yeah, thank you for confirming what I had already said.
Read
Very
through each one. Every single one said $20.
Yes, Griffin. I've done all of this.
Are you sure it was 0 yesterday?
For God's sakes. All right, I regret.
Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it. I'm not Mr. Venmo.
I'm trying to talk through it. You're not being helpful. That's what I'm telling you. You're not helpful.
Well,
when I ask the question, can you anonymously send someone?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think
this is what I'm looking for.
The two
the
parties
answer
involved.
To that question would be helpful.
I think the two parties involved should know.
Otherwise, not helpful. I appreciate everybody who got in. We still need more. We still need to fill this thing, and I'm going to keep harassing you about it. Apparently somebody got in. I believe Joe somehow got in without paying and was like, hey, is this just for I don't know what's going on.
Joe who?
Joe Boo. Oh. Actually, on Blue Sky, his name is Joe Boo.
Oh.
So I'm not sure.
I thought you were trying to set me up. I wanted to make sure I played the game.
Not at all. So I need you, not Joe Mama, no. Certainly not that. I need you to get in, is the point. Bracket contest to benefit, show your soft side, and all the incredible work they do for animals in our community. If for some reason you don't trust me, and that would be weird, visit showyoursoftside.org. Showyoursoftside.org. And find out more about the incredible work that they do at Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App, Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal. $20, half of the pot to the winner. Half of the pot goes to Show Your Soft Side to help the animals in our community. Let's get that number to $500 already. Make a great donation, and someone's going to win $500 as well. Get in today, and you can get signed up for our bracket contest. And I absolutely have penciled through our next guest team beating Duke in the round of 64. I know he's not thinking about that.
Wow.
He's just thinking about tomorrow night. I understand. But he's going to make us all proud. That's what I know. Joining us now here on GCR. First year as head coach at Mount St. Mary's. They were picked 11th in the preseason poll, as Xavier Lipscomb reminded us yesterday. Now they're headed to the NCAA Tournament tomorrow night, taking on American out in Dayton. He is Coach Donny Lind, and he's back with us here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time, and major congratulations.
Oh, I really appreciate it, Glenn. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the support. It's been a heck of a couple of days here, that's for sure.
I can only imagine. Coach, so much has been made about what you were able to do in retaining this group of players. I remember talking to you about it before the season began. but the passion that you had for what you were going to be capable of doing. Obviously, you knew what a special place Emmitsburg was and what a special program Mount St. Mary's was. But what did it take to get that group of guys to buy in the way they did just to stay, and then obviously to go out and do what you guys were able to do this year?
Yeah, Glenn, it took a lot of time and effort by our coaching staff to build real relationships with these guys and get them to care about each other and really love each other enough to be willing to sacrifice some of their personal agenda to be able to help the team win. And that's becoming harder and harder to do in today's day and age of college athletics. And so with this group, for them to buy into that concept and then just overcome so much adversity, and then to see them rewarded like this is awesome. To see it all pay off for them on the biggest moments, to be able to play some of our best basketball is really fun.
Can you tell us a little bit of that? Because I know injuries are a big part of that, but were there moments during the season where that struck you the most, like the resiliency of this group and why this group did have the chance to be this special?
Yeah, we had a couple moments. We lost 4 games in a row early in MAAC play and dropped to 4 and 5 in the league. And we had a day, a Monday. In MAAC we don't play till Friday, so those Mondays, some weeks they're really, really tough practices where we really get after it, and other days they're really light. And we had a Monday where we came in the film room and ended up not leaving for about 2 hours. We had a long conversation about our team, about our culture, about what we were trying to do, and what was holding us back. And we walked out of the film room that day. Everyone was exhausted mentally, even though we didn't touch the floor. But we recommitted to being the type of team that we wanted to be. And when we did that, we were able to not run off 2 really big road wins in a row up at Merrimack and at St. Peter's, and kind of got that belief back that we were going to be a pretty good team. And then a couple weeks ago, Terrell Ard Jr., one of our, he's our 6th man who would start on just about every team in the league. And he tore his Achilles up at Fairfield. And we got back after losing that game. It was an emotional game. We ended up didn't play our best and got back that night. And again, came in the next morning to MAAC. You get 1 day to flip it and prepare. So we drive all the way back from Fairfield to Emmitsburg. It's about 6 hours on the bus, and we get back, quick turnaround. We're in the gym, and the energy and enthusiasm that our guys had that day told me, okay, we're going to be all right. Because there were a couple moments on that ride home that I wasn't sure we'd win another game.
Wow.
And, the guys responded with such resilience, such urgency to keep getting better. And, we've been on a heater ever since, honestly. And that showed me, hey, these guys are special. They believe, and honestly, we've made it part of our DNA, to accept adversity and just deal with it, like champions.
I love it. Donny Lind from Mount St. Mary is with us here on GCR. Coach, a couple of things that stood out to me. I was reading a story at SB Nation, and they brought up that during the championship game, you actually took a towel yourself and went out and cleaned the floor at one point in the middle of a championship game. Is that purposeful on you, that you want your players to see that, or would you kind of laugh and say, yeah, I just wanted to get on with the game and wanted to get it taken care of quickly?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it's who I am. I believe that if I want the guys to dive on the floor after a loose ball, or if I want the guys to do the things that aren't glamorous, then why wouldn't I be willing to do that too? And if they see me doing things like that, hopefully that helps them realize, hey, no one's above, the things that go into winning, right? And the things that I'm asking them to do, I'm going to do myself. And so that's definitely a part of it. But also we were on a little bit of a heater at that point. And so I definitely didn't want the game to stop. I wanted to make sure we were going, and I started my career as a student manager. So wiping up the floor is nothing new to me. I've been cleaning floors and doing laundry as long as I've been in this business, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon. It's just a part of what I think is important, and we're going to do whatever it takes to show our guys just how important being able to sacrifice of yourself is if you're going to be in this program.
I appreciate that, man. Coach, I wonder, with that in mind, like your path to this, as a student manager for Coach Patsos at Loyola, to grinding through as an assistant, and particularly given that it was Mount St. Mary's that gave you that first coaching opportunity, what this means to you. I know how much it means to you for this group of guys, but what it means to you to have been able to deliver a championship, an NCAA tournament berth, to the school that gave you your first chance as an assistant and now your first chance as a head coach, and given everything that you've had to go through in order to get to this play.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me chills down my spine. You just saying that. I mean, it is the Mount is a special place. People don't all know and all realize just how much basketball means to the Mount St. Mary's community, the community inside on campus, but also the community up in Emmitsburg and in the surrounding area. Basketball is really in the fabric of what they've done, and you can thank Coach Phelan and everyone since him for that. But to see their passion, and I was reminded of it, the day I stepped back on campus, just how much people care. And so to be able to, have these guys perform at this level and win and just see the outpouring of support all year long, but especially, after we win a championship, it is unbelievable. We had 1,500 people make the drive down to Atlantic City to come watch us play in the championship game, buses of students. It's a special place to be a basketball player and be a basketball coach. And so to be able to deliver for those people is just awesome. It's a huge part of what we do. That's
really special. Coach, when did you know, I it's funny, all throughout the season, my buddy Patrick Stevens would be like, dude, you need to be paying attention to Mount St. Mary's. Like, there's something happening out there. But when did you know that it wasn't just, hey, this is working, we're proving we can be competitive in the MAAC, which, look, I think most people expected it was going to take a long time, 5 to 10 years before Mount St. Mary's would be ready to compete. When did you know that it was beyond just being competitive, and you knew this group really did have a chance to go do this and break through and win this title?
Yeah, so I had an inkling early. We went up to Bucknell and won a double overtime game at Bucknell early in the year, and I knew how good Bucknell was, and I said, okay, we know how to win. We've taught these guys how to win, and so that was one of the things I was most worried. We got good players, but are they gonna figure out what it takes to win? And obviously we go and we beat Miami down there and without one of our best players, and that's okay, it's starting to build a little bit. We're gonna be all right. And then, like I said before, got off to a pretty good start in conference, but when we came back and beat Siena pretty good at home after Terrell tore his Achilles that Sunday, I knew okay, we're gonna have a chance in Atlantic City if the matchups come out right and all that, because these guys just won't quit. They just won't quit, and they'll just keep responding and laughing in the face of whatever adversity they get. So that's when I knew we'd have a chance.
I wonder where you as a coach. Look, I admit, Coach, that I'm of the hey, none of them that wins their conference should have to play in a first four game. But I wonder where you as a coach, because I've heard this argument from people that there's a benefit to this, that you can go out, can keep this momentum going, stay hot, play another basketball game, and carry that into the possibility of getting a big win in the round of 64. Where are you at? I know it doesn't change your reality because you got to play in the game one way or the other, but what do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm in the camp that it's a great opportunity for us. I mean, first of all, just for our university and to be the only game on TV, and be the only people that people are watching, and that sort of visibility is awesome. You know how those 116 games sometimes you watch them for the first few minutes and then you flip over to that other game that's going on, but there's no other game to flip to, and so that's awesome. The ability to play in a 50-50 neutral site game, in the NCAA tournament as a mid-major. Those opportunities don't happen very often, and I like that part of it. And then, like you said, you get a win, everybody's feeling great. You got a lot of momentum, and shoot, I was at VCU when we won this game and went from here all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah,
this is my fourth time being at Dayton, and every time it's been an unbelievable experience, and has helped propel the program forward. Whether that's winning more games in the tournament or just in general because of the buzz and the vibe and the experience that it is out here.
You didn't maybe send like Shaka a note this week. Hey, can you remind me of everything we did in order to how do we build?
I walked in. We get off the bus. We get onto the bus after we get off the plane, and we're at the same hotel.
Oh,
they take us right to the same hotel we were at in 2011. So it's got good vibes, that's for sure.
That's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. Coach, I'm so happy for you, for the program. I just can't put it into words. It's a special – what you say about that being a special place, and anyone who's ever been to a game out there knows exactly what you're talking about. There is something happening. And for you to be able to deliver that to this community and the opportunity to go keep it going now in the NCAA tournament, man, I'm just so happy for you. Coach, congratulations. Thank you for spending the time with us this morning. Go get them tomorrow night against American, all right?
Yeah. Thanks so much, Glenn. Really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Donny Lind, the head coach at Mount St. Mary's. They get ready for American tomorrow night, and then he can't project. He's got to – I'll be the one to do it. And then going and kicking Duke's ass in the round of 64. That's what I'm talking about. Getting it done. That'd be something special. That'd be something special, but we will just worry about tomorrow night in the meantime. Thank you to Coach Donny Lind of Mount St. Mary's. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. It was also championship weekend in College Park, and if you missed any of the high school hoops playoff action, you can find out. Everyone who won, all of the results, scores, everything you would need to know by going to countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Countysports.zone for everything you may have missed from championship weekend down in College Park. And now, of course, they are adjusting and moving forward into spring sports season. It's already been underway, obviously, at the private school level for a little while. A lot of significant results already. I know McDonough played Malvern in lacrosse and lost that. Spalding with some big results already in lacrosse. Probably the two teams picked near the top. Calvert Hall beat Hill Academy in overtime. So a lot of interesting lacrosse results already, and you can find out everything lacrosse, baseball, softball-wise that you need to know at countysports.zone. Again, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Yes, this question came up. I did address it. You are allowed to have multiple entries in the bracket contest. That's fine. You just have to pay for the multiple entries. It's as simple as that. If you have, I mentioned our friend Ryan was going to do it for 5 members of his family. If you want to make up 5 members of your family and just have 5 entries yourself, that doesn't bother me. All I care about is that a great charity gets the money in the end. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. One concern. The charity. That's it. So if you want 5 spots, send $100 and you've got them. But you can only, if I see that you've got 2 entries in and you only paid 1, we're going to have to boot one of those out. I'll talk to you about it. We'll handle that. So get in, please. I mean, we are getting the nitty-gritty here already. Brackets lock in 2 days and an hour and a half. So let's go. Get in right now. Help show your soft side. We appreciate that. All right, we'll grab a break. Seth Greenberg scheduled to join us. Oh, no, we're not grabbing a break? What?
Maybe we're having a phone issue, but he's like, we're going back and forth. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's Seth Greenberg right now. We're not taking a break, is what Griffin's telling me. I don't like it whenever Griffin says the words phone issue, I get very concerned about what's going on around these parts. Let's continue to break down the NCAA tournament and the chances of Maryland making a deep run. Joining us now, one of our favorites, a man who always tells us about the state of Baltimore, where he was able to pull a lot of basketball talent out of over the years. He is Coach Seth Greenberg from ESPN, and he's with us here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. Always great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
All good. Great time of the year. And I'll tell you what, it's a good time to be in Baltimore and Maryland because those dudes are for real.
That is a heck of a 5. Like, this is the crazy part, Coach. Like, I know that, like, we saw on Saturday, for example, against Michigan, how the depth still can be an issue because Julian Reese got into foul trouble, and that hurt them significantly on the boards. And yet, despite all of that, there they were with a 1-point lead and 5 seconds left in the game and a great chance to win it. Like, it's crazy to me how we know that it's a thin roster, but yet they just keep showing us game in and game out, yeah, but it's a really good top 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, John Chaney won forever playing 5 dudes when he was at Temple. I mean, like, you can do it. Obviously, you got to stay out of foul trouble, and the problem is when you play the style that they play, there's a potential to get in foul trouble. Having said that, I mean, I'm sure Kevin would take that last play and say, wait a second.
Right.
Why do we extend our defense up the floor? Why didn't we just go get back and set our defense? But, look, they're really good, man. The Crab 5 is for real. So it's for real.
And again, foul trouble being the thing and maybe an injury obviously being concerned. But so much has been made about, hey, in the NCAA tournament in particular, everybody's shortening their bench. And you do have the longer timeouts. And this is the time of the year where it at least maybe impacts you, the lack of depth that you have on this team.
Yeah, like ideally you want an 8-man rotation. You want a point sub, you want a wing sub, you want a front court sub. I mean, that's in a perfect world. We don't live in perfect worlds. By having a shorter bench, what you've developed an incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
Where everyone embraces what they do well and they trust each other and they play hard and the style of play is so much fun to watch. I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, like really good. Kevin's done just a monster job. And they've got a toughness about them. They're older, and what he's done with Rodney Rice is unbelievable. I mean, the force that he's playing with. So, look, they're a team that they could go to a Final Four. Will they? It's hard to go to a Final Four. It's hard to win a game in the NCAA tournament. It's hard to win 2 games. But that they have a team that is complete. And it's skilled. It's size. It's got a matchup problem. They can shoot it well enough. They can create offense out of their defense. I mean, there's not a ton of weaknesses for it. I know this is how good Maryland is. Van Pelt's taking the week off, so he's expecting to be traveling with the team for at least a week.
Coach Seth Greenberg with us here on GCR. Coach, let me run a couple of things by you that we've been talking about. And you brought up Kevin Willard. As you know from your time, we are used to really good in-game coaching when it comes to Maryland basketball. And we got very spoiled around Gary Williams because he was one of the best in-game coaches that we had ever seen. What we've seen from Kevin Willard this year, I'm not trying to make him Gary Williams because I get that's crazy, but like out of timeouts in particular, it seems like every time they have the ball out of a timeout, they score. Like it just always works that way. Specifically the in-game coaching, how much credit do you believe Kevin Willard deserves for how this has come together this season?
A ton. I think. Look, I've known Kevin since he's almost been born. I mean, his dad, very terrific coach. Grew up in Long Island, where I'm from. I think Kevin Willard is phenomenal, and he does it in a very understated way. He's got a quiet aggression about him. He's tough on his guys, but they respect him. But whether it's coming out of timeouts or game preparation or player development. He's as good as any in the country. I mean, he's that good. And the guy is really, really talented. There's not an aspect of the business of college basketball he doesn't understand.
The going out to Seattle thing, what do you make? Obviously, the Maryland made a trip to the Pacific Northwest earlier this year. They lost both at Oregon and at Washington. The Washington loss really being their only bad loss of the season. Is it that big of a deal? Is it, hey, everybody's traveling in the NCAA tournament, no one really has an advantage, we make too much of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make too much of it. Digger Phelps used to say, go west and I'll do the rest. I mean, back in the day, people didn't mind going west. They thought the bracket was a little softer, but that's how it was seeded. It was seeded a little differently. Look, travel's hard. There's no doubt about it. Travel in terms of traveling private and charters, not as hard. Now, look, time difference, hard. Time of the game, impact. Staying hydrated, important. Getting rest, valuable. All those things are really, really important. And I think that players have gotten and coaches have gotten really a lot better in terms of understanding how to make sure they get their team ready for this cross-country travel. So, it's not like they haven't done it this year. And it's a big difference between the NCAA tournament and league play. League play is just different because, you're going out, I think on that trip they played 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, right? They play Oregon, Washington.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I mean, so that's different than going out, and those are 2 teams that are sitting teams. What I mean by that is they're at home. It's totally different. For the NCAA tournament, everyone's traveling. So, I mean, everyone's got to get out to Seattle. So, I mean, I don't think it's as a big a deal as it was. I think, coaches have gotten a lot better at getting their teams ready to deal with the travel and making sure that you do the things you need to do to make sure your body's in the best shape possible.
As you brought up, all 5 of these guys are capable of being the guy on any given night. We've seen, to your point, a lot of Rodney Rice, Jacoby Gillespie at times, even Selton Miguel have those games. On Saturday against Michigan, it was Derek Queen's day, and of the 5, Derek Queen seems to be the most special of the group. Can you, and I feel like we talked about this, obviously Purdue did it with Zach Edey, is it okay for it to be a big in the NCAA tournament that you just say, hey, when things are on the line, everything needs to go through you. You do need to take over the way that clearly he took over when things weren't going their way and they were down by 15 against Michigan on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's real easy to do that with him because he's so versatile. It's not like you're taking over and you just throw it to him on the block. He can grab a defensive rebound, fast break. You can put him in a ball screen. He can short roll. You can run him, as a point forward almost at times. So his versatility, it's almost I'm not comparing him to Cooper Flagg, but it's almost like how Shire uses Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg can take over a game without taking over a game. Mm-hmm. And then you look back and you go, oh my God, look, this guy, he did a little bit of everything. And that's the way I look at Queen. I look at him as a guy that he impacts the game in so many ways.
Right. He even knocked down 2 threes on Saturday, which he had knocked down 2 the entire season before that point. So that was the wild part.
But he's got a nice release.
Right. No, he's not a bad jump shooter, right? And not by any stretch. He's just not been a stretch shooter necessarily. I say that all to say, Coach, I keep finding myself saying I know it's a good thing that it can be any of these 5 guys in any game, but I do wonder in the NCAA tournament if there needs to be a singular steadying force that if things start to go a little awry, we all know this is the guy that we need to take our cues from in those moments. And typically that's your point guard, but might it just be that that's Derek Queen for this team?
I think it starts with your point guard. It's going to be run through your point guard, but it'll end up going through, or begins with your point guard, but it'll end up going through Queen. I think that's the way I would look at that. Look, Gillespie's not afraid to take over a game.
No.
He's not afraid to take a big shot. Now, he's taken 1 or 2 that you probably would want back, where he's settled. But he's got really good leadership skills, really good leadership skills. So, everyone wants, at the end of the game, we're going to, a lot of it has to do with matchups. A lot of it has to do with, where you want to get the ball, who's got it going a little bit. I think that's the good thing. You got a bunch of dudes that without even running a play, they can make a play. Man, that's a good feeling as a coach.
It certainly helps when you know that any of those guys can be the guy. Coach, a lot has been made about.
Sure, and I think that the other thing is, to me, and I'm not there. I always say this. I'm not a member of the media. I work in the media. I don't look at myself that way. Unless you're, even you guys that are covering them all the time, or even their beat writers, unless you're in practice,
right,
every day, you don't have an understanding. I love when people say, play this guy more. Well, you practice every day. Is he screwing up off the court and missing class, or I don't know. People still go to class. They take them all online for now. Has he got something going on? Has he been a bad teammate in the locker? I mean, there's so much that goes into the day-to-day for a basketball program that impacts how to play. But the great thing is when you zero in on 5, and you got 5 dudes that you're leaning on, They all eat. They all eat. And you know what? When they all eat, yeah, fat teams are happy teams. I mean, like, when they all eat, life is good. So I think they're in a really good place. I think that, the freshmen got to handle, Queen's got to handle his first NCAA tournament, but so many freshmen have to do that now. But I think they're in a good place. I think that Kevin has negotiated the season in a way where he's been very even-keeled and consistent with his team. So therefore, I think it takes a lot of pressure off his team. They know, like, it's two ways. You, as a coach, want to know what you can expect from your team. You know what? As players, they want to know what to expect from their coach. And I think Kevin's the same guy every single day. And I think that's very comforting for players today.
The West region in general, Coach, everybody seems to think it's maybe the toughest of the four. If there's a caveat, I think a lot of people think that Memphis might be one of the weaker fives, but on the flip side, Colorado State looks like they might be one of the strongest 12s we've seen in some time.
Yeah, Colorado State, Nick Clifford, he's a matchup problem, man. I mean, they run really good offense, and they share the ball, and they play with really good spacing. They assist on about 67% to 65% of their possessions. They really do get a good shot. Nico Medved is a very, very good offensive coach.
Mm-hmm. And someone who at one point was actually a candidate for the Maryland job when Kevin Willard got it, by the way. Is there anything – I know everybody's screaming about North Carolina, and it's kind of what it is at this point. Was there anything that most alarmed you in the building of the bracket, Coach?
It's a hard job. Look, you can spin it any which way. Look, I personally feel North Carolina 1-12 against Quad 1.
Right.
You got to beat teams in the league. They had chances against, the Quad 1 wins against Pitt and Wake Forest and Louisville and Clemson. Didn't get it done. But they can win a couple games in the tournament. They're good enough to beat San Diego State. They're good enough to beat Ole Miss. They're good enough to beat even Iowa State potentially. That's without Keyshawn Gilbert. So I don't get caught up in all that stuff very much, because now here's the thing when you talk about the games, man. The games. Like, all that other stuff is on the back burner. This is the good time now. Here's the good stuff, man. We got the next 2 weeks where we're going to have buzzer beaters. We're going to have coaches emerge. We're going to have incredible games. That's what it's all about now. So, like, you look at the bracket is what it is. You're going to have to beat a good team to win. That's just the deal. So your team needs to play well. And you know what? Even the mid-majors that are in, they've won 23, 24, 25 games.
Right.
Those dudes expect to win. Like, everyone expects to win. I think the biggest thing about the whole thing is just the number of injuries that we have going on. Like, we got a lot of teams with injuries. I mean, Keyshawn Gilbert, Iowa State, that's a big injury.
No doubt.
Rain Smith for Louisville, is he going to play? Supposedly he is going to play. Obviously, Cooper Flagg, what's his situation in terms of playing? Arkansas is without Thero, and now Boogie Flanders coming back. You go throughout the bracket, and you see a lot of teams. Grant Nelson for Alabama, he might not play. What impact is that going to have on the games? I think that's kind of the next stage, like, for me, of what I'm watching. You know what I mean? The health of a team, because what happens is when you got a guy out, and this is something it may be too inside basketball, you got two choices. You either move everyone up. Right?
Yep.
Or you say you take a guy that's on the bench.
Yep. And put him.
And this is a little radical. And you put him in the starting lineup so everyone else's role remains the same.
Right.
And which I watched. It actually helped the career of one of my former players. I watched the Utah Jazz do that with Brian Russell. Brian Russell went from not playing at all to they had an injury, and Coach Sloan put him in the starting lineup, and he never lost it back because he wanted everything else in his rotation to remain the same. So that when he went to his bench, because you don't want to, if you take a guy and now all of a sudden you start a guy that was coming off the bench, now all of a sudden your rotation, when you get into your rotations, it really, really impacts your rotations.
I get that entirely. Coach, what's
So
what does your life look like these next couple of weeks?
my life looks like we did a bracketology show yesterday. I did get up this morning from my house. I'm driving and doing 8,000 deals like this. I got Pat McAfee at 1:15. I got 2 o'clock Sports Center. I got 6 o'clock Sports Center. I got the Dan Dalkich show in Indianapolis. I've got I got a bunch of stuff. It's all good. I'm undefeated right now. You miss coaching. There's no doubt about it. But I got a good quality life, and I've been very, very fortunate. And even fortunate, like guys like yourself, want to hear my opinion is kind and appreciated. And I'm just a fired basketball coach talking ball.
Hey, man.
And that's about kind of what it comes down to.
And you're really, really good at it, and that's the reason why we all love hearing you, man. Coach, always appreciate you taking the time. Seth on Hoops. Make sure you're following him. Thank you for hopping on with us this morning, and let's do it
Thanks,
again.
man. Good luck this week.
Thanks,
It'll be a fun ride.
Thank you, Coach. Seth on Hoops, Seth Greenberg with us here on GCR. We'll come back in. We'll get Raphael Davis' thoughts on Maryland, on the tournament, on the Big Ten teams, all of that when we come back in. Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR's continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. And yes, I'm going to keep harassing you about filling the bracket contest literally every break, every time we're not talking to someone. That's what I'm going to be doing on this program because you need to fill our bracket contest. Get the F on it. Sorry. Look, man, it's for charity. Please, for God's sakes, help out. Don't do it for me. Do it for the animals. I mean, I'm a monster. We can all accept that. Like, I'm a terrible person. For the animals. Do something for them, please. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, we continue to discuss the NCAA tournament. Joining us now from Big Ten Network, someone who we know has been this was actually very difficult. The last time we talked to him was before the Michigan State game, and he was raving about how much he's loved Maryland and going in on Maryland. But then he was also afterwards raving about Trey Holloman, and that made it very difficult for us. He is former Purdue Boilermaker. Raphael Davis back with us now here on GCR. Raphael, it's Glenn. Good morning. How are you? Thank you for taking the time for us.
What's up, man? How you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
We're all right, but man, that was when I realized that was the last time we talked to you, I actually wondered if maybe we needed to not talk to you anymore because you might have been a jinx for us that day. Like that just might have been the reality. Is that was a crusher, that game against Michigan State. So we're playing with fire doing this again, but I appreciate it nonetheless. That said, I know that teams, when you play the number of close games that Maryland has played, and they have literally not lost a game this season by more than 2 possessions. When you do that, you're going to end up having some heartbreak when the games are just that close. But is there anything that you make of a team that when they've, like, there have been 4 of these now this season, including Saturday, is that concerning? Is there connective tissue to it? Or is it just the nature of basketball? Sometimes it goes that way where you lose games at the buzzer.
I just take it as though they're just that hard to beat. Like they're just that good. They're always in the game. They were down 15 against Michigan. They come all the way back. They have a chance to win it, and then they lose on the buzzer beater. So I just think it shows how tough they are as a team. I mean, you think of Michigan State, a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. It took them a 63-footer to beat them, and Maryland played bad that game. So I think it just speaks to how talented Maryland is that they're never out of any games.
I think I appreciate you saying that. Obviously, it didn't make anybody feel any better at the end on Saturday, but I think there is something to be said for it. We did see on Saturday, Raphael, the one area, because and you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, I am past the panic about the depth. But the one thing that still does concern me is what if there's foul trouble? And when Julian Reese got into foul trouble on Saturday, they got killed on the boards. Now, to the point, they still only lost by a magical shot at the buzzer. But is there some danger that there's a little bit of a blueprint there for how Maryland could be vulnerable in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I just think that sometimes we always look to the negatives because, I don't think you would have realized that. I mean, against Illinois in the first half, Julian Reese got in foul trouble too.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
So
that's fair.
And Illinois is a tournament team. Illinois is a 7 seed. So he picked up 2 fouls, and actually Derek Queen picked up 2 fouls in the first half as well. So Derek Queen and Julian Reese get in foul trouble against Illinois, and they win by 40. You know what I mean? So none of those starters played more than 25 minutes, and that's a good Illinois team. So, and you look at Michigan, not many teams have 2 7-footers. So you can't really have a blueprint if you don't have what Michigan has. And you look around the country, and not too many people. I mean, no one has a Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. Mm-hmm. So I just think Michigan's kind of built in a way that it can hurt you. But you look at that Illinois game, and I think that's the testament to what Maryland's depth is. And we tell kids all the time, don't put your value in scoring. Try to affect games in other ways. But, Geronimo affects games in other ways. He has energy, he rebounds, he gets deflections, he gets steals, he blocks shots, he dunks in transitions. Tafari Gapare seems to be getting his legs back under him. So I just think, and then Deshaun Harris-Smith, you look at it, he didn't score, I don't think, that Illinois game, but he had 4 rebounds, 4 assists. And I think that's the type of production you need from those guys. So I just think in that Michigan game, they missed shots that they normally make. They didn't make their free throws. So things like that kind of hurt them. I don't think it was the depth.
I have wondered all season long, Raphael, if when we got to this point of the year, for as valuable as it is to have all 5 guys who are capable of being the alpha, do you need to have one that when things start to go awry, everyone knows is the alpha? And on Saturday, that was obviously Derek Queen, when Maryland was down by 15, and he, put on a master class. I mean, he was unbelievable in guiding them back in that game. Is that necessary in the NCAA tournament, or can it continue to be just whoever it is on that particular night is the guy if you start to fall behind by a little bit.
Well, yeah, like you don't win a national championship without pros. Like I know coaches are great. You have great coaches out there, but you can't show me a coach in the last 20 years that's won a national championship without an NBA player on their roster. It just doesn't happen. So, like, the team knows that Derek Queen is the guy. So he has to be the guy when they need a basket. But not only is Derek Queen a pro, like Rodney Rice is going to be a pro. Like I think Rodney Rice can play at the next level. And then Jacoby Gillespie is going to play basketball for a very, very long time, make a lot of money. And so will Seth McGilly and Julian Reese. So I think Maryland has a bunch of pros on the roster, but I think Derek Queen is a lottery pick. I've said it before, and I think it may have rubbed people the wrong way what Coach Willard said. And I think maybe he said it wrong, maybe he didn't, but the premise was correct. If Derek Queen was an international player coming from overseas, he would be a top 5 draft pick with that skill set. Mm-hmm. It's just, you see what he did in the Big Ten tournament, and it's just unbelievable at that size. So I think in the tournament he's going to be able to cause a lot of problems, especially you think about who Maryland has coming up first. I think he's too much for the first round. You get to Memphis. Dane Danger was in the Big Ten a season ago. I don't think Dane can handle Julian. I don't think Dane can handle Derek. So, and then you move on to the next round. I think Derek Queen is going to be a serious matchup problem to the tournament because you get to Florida, and Walter Clayton is great, but they don't have a guy inside for Derek Queen at that 4 position. So I just think St. John's the same or Texas Tech the same. J.P. Toppin and those boys don't have anything for Derek Queen inside. So I think Derek Queen's the kind of player that can get this team all the way to a Final Four and compete for a national championship.
Raphael Davis, Big Ten Network, with us here on GCR. Raphael, with that said, we had seen before Saturday, Derek Queen had knocked down 2 threes the entire season. He knocked down 2 in that game. Is that like a promising thing because you want him to be taking those shots, or is there almost some danger, maybe a little bit of rat poison to that, where now you worry that he's going to maybe settle for outside jumpers a little bit moving forward?
Nah, I've actually covered Derek Queen since he was a junior in high school, so I've watched him a long, long time, man. He's always shot the jumper. His jumper, it went into high school. Like, it just hasn't translated yet to the collegiate level, and that happens sometimes to freshmen, but he can make shots. He can always make shots. His pull-up game was always special at that size. So I just think it opens up his game more. And his one of his superpowers on the floor is his IQ. So now he's going to understand that he's made a couple. Teams have seen it on scout. So now they're telling their guys he can shoot a little bit. You got to close out with your hands up. So it's going to allow him to get to the basket and wheel and deal a little bit more and be able to put more pressure on the defense. I don't think it's going to hurt. I think it's going to even help. It's going to help the ball screen action too with he and Jacoby, because now the big or the forward is going to have to make a decision. Do I show and help things of that sort?
I've even I brought that up as the season gone on. Even when they weren't falling, like there was a part of me that said, I get you still. You kind of want him to take those shots just to keep defenses honest, if nothing else.
Right.
So
you have to.
I get it. I completely get what you're saying. Raphael, is there anything else that does concern you going into the NCAA tournament for Maryland?
No, I just think everybody being on the same page. I think you got to be on the same page. I think at the end of that Michigan game, guys just weren't on the same page. Mm-hmm. I just think you gotta have 5 guys on the same page, and you got to be rocking and rolling. And guys are gonna have to show up and make shots. But I think Maryland can beat you in a lot of ways. They can beat you ugly. They can beat you pretty. They can beat you with your offense. They can get you on the glass. They can make threes. So I just think it's a thing where you just got to string it together 2 games at a time, 1 weekend at a time. And I think Maryland can make a run at this thing.
Who is the Big Ten team most likely to be playing in the Final Four, Raphael?
I got Maryland, Michigan State matching up in my Final Four on that side of the bracket.
Wow. I get it. You're a Big Ten guy, but that's pretty bullish about these teams.
No, not really. You look at the top of the bracket. Auburn right now is their number 1 seed. They've lost 3 of their last 4. Fair. They're hobbled right now. You look at Michigan. You look at Michigan's size. If it's a team that can do it, Michigan's size could really bother Janai Broome with the 2 7-footers. And with Auburn kind of struggling, they're not the strongest 1 seed right now. And I'm not a guy that thinks Michigan will struggle with UC Davis or whatnot.
Yeah,
so
it seems
I think Michigan and Michigan State will end up matching up. And I think Michigan State, when you look at who they have, I think they get past that first game. Whether you get New Mexico State and you get Donovan Dent, or you get Marquette, you get Cam Jones, Michigan State has one of the – Maryland's experienced it. Michigan State has one of the best perimeter defenses in the country. So I like them in those type of matchups when the opposing team has the best player as a guard. And I kind of see that forming out.
Maryland went 0-2 when they were out in the Pacific Northwest. Now, I acknowledge those teams were playing at home, and that's not the case. Do we make too big of a deal about the impact of traveling out to Seattle for Maryland in the first weekend?
Yeah, I think we make too big of a deal. I followed Derek Queen in Mount Vernon last season, and I caught a bunch of their games. And they play in Florida, then they play in Vegas, then they play in New York, then they play in California. So, I mean, this is what these dudes have done their whole basketball careers. I can remember even when I played 15 years ago AAU, this is what we were doing. And so this is what you want. And all these guys, we give these kids too much excuses because all of these guys want to play in the NBA. And if you can't handle it now, you shouldn't want to handle it then. You know what I mean? So I don't put too much into it. They're going to get out there pretty early. They're going to eat steaks and lobsters. They're going to stay at 5-star hotels. They're going to get massages in the hotel rooms and things like that. So they're going to be put up pretty neat.
Raphael, what's the other half of your Final Four? If it's Maryland, Michigan State on the one side, what's the other side?
I got Duke and I got Tennessee on the other side.
Okay, all right. I mean, Tennessee comes in hot. It's funny though that I guess you've got Maryland knocking off Florida in the Sweet 16, where Florida's looked like the hottest team in the country of late.
I just think Maryland's too big for them. I just think Maryland's size could really bother them. I'm not a buyer in the SEC. You got to show me, and they can show me and they can prove it, and I agree with it. But I think Maryland, their size and their quickness and their Selton McGill can guard. Like Selton McGill can guard, and Rodney Rice can guard. And I think Clayton is a really good player, but Maryland has a lot of bodies to throw at them, and I don't think their interior presence is enough for Maryland inside. I think Maryland can bully you if you playing small ball. And I like Maryland in that matchup.
All right, as you brought up, it seems like the country is hot on UC San Diego against Michigan. Is there another that as you've looked at the bracket, you've been like, yeah, well, they're all talking about that one. This is the one that I think could be the juicy upset in round one.
Maybe not round one, but I think Gonzaga takes out Houston in the second round.
Okay.
I think Gonzaga takes out Houston. I think Gonzaga's a team that they can score, and Ryan Nembhard, he won't be bothered by the pressure. Well, I don't expect him to be bothered by the pressure. He's so talented that Houston's rah-rah, that toughness, I don't think it speeds him up. And if it's a thing where Gonzaga gets going and they're making shots and they're getting points on the board, I don't think Houston would be able to keep up with them. So I got Gonzaga winning that one, and kind of moving on. I got Gonzaga and Purdue facing up, I think, in that side.
Wow, that would be significant, and not good news for me. That would be very bad news because I've got Houston making a run here. All right, Rapheal, when are we? What's your schedule like? And are we seeing you? Are you doing post game shows, stuff like that throughout the course of the next couple weekends?
Yeah, I'll be in the Big Ten tournament Big Ten Network studio this week. Wednesday to Saturday.
Excellent. And what else can we plug for you?
I'm actually having a free youth basketball camp for spring break in my neighborhood in the inner city of Fort Wayne. So
that's awesome, man.
If you would like to learn any information about that, you go to RaphaelDavisBasketball.com. We have 100 kids coming. We give them lunch. We give them basketball. Everybody gets a basketball. Everybody gets a T-shirt. We're bringing in physicians to talk to them about different career options and all that type of stuff. So it should be pretty fun.
That's great, man. At Raphael Davis 3 is how you can follow him. Raphael, always appreciate you, man. Certainly appreciate your bullishness about Maryland. That makes us feel really good. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, that's Raphael Davis from Big Ten Network with us here on GCR. I wonder if he's going to – maybe he needs – I was going to join the rest of the country and hop it on the UC San Diego bandwagon. I mean, everybody's doing it, right? It almost feels like I have to do it.
They're in my Sweet 16 right now, yeah. Should we? But anyway, I guess so. We should start looking at like San Antonio.
All right, yeah.
Trips.
See,
figure out how.
Don't let the Atlanta thing happen again to me. Yeah, we could poke around on that. You at least poke into. I know they do a radio row at the Final Four. I don't know. And I've never done it. Like, Maryland wasn't good enough for that to be something that we were concerned about when I was at the old radio station. Remember one year The Gravis year. We had started to explore 9.
Okay.
The year
Both
they
of
lost
those
to
years.
Michigan State. The year that
Is that 10 then? Maybe that was 9.
I got to be honest, man.
That was Gravis's senior year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it must have been
I think it was
2000. The spring of 2000, the 2009-2010 season. Yeah, that must have been when it was.
And they were what, 5? Were they 4 or 5 that year? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But Michigan State and Maryland were 4 or 5. Yeah.
And were there? Was it?
All right, I'll figure it out. All right.
I also remember how much the bracket opened up for them afterwards, where it was like particularly crushing that they lost that game, because then you looked and you were like, oh, they probably would have gotten there. But we did start to poke around about the idea of doing a Final Four, and
Maryland was the 4, Michigan State was the 5.
I still think about that.
And then, so Northern Iowa knocked off Kansas.
Yeah. Things really opened up.
And Michigan State ran to the Final Four.
Yep. Thought about it a good bit. I'll put you in charge of that. I don't know how well this is going to go. You start trying to find out what the details would be.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we were going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. So,
well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you guys make it look easy to get to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I guess I should be able to figure it out.
I mean, it's not easy. Let's not pretend like it's easy, but let's find out the details. I actually do think it's a problem. I don't know that you're allowed to get credentials for the Final Four itself unless you've covered earlier rounds in the tournament. I think that's part of the problem.
Okay, so
but we can look into that. Again, look, you're in charge.
Don't they know who we are?
Yeah, right, correct. You're in charge now. At least exploring it. When we come back in, Patrick Stevens will join us. Yes, more hoops, and we'll also talk some lacrosse with Patrick when we come back into hour number 2 of Glenn Clark Radio.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. And baseball started this morning. I did flip it on when I woke up, but it wasn't until I didn't wake up till 8 a.m. So
I forgot that the baseball was on.
I poked it, and it was already 3-1. I'm like, yeah, good. The Dodgers are winning. That's
good.
Great.
Big Dodgers fan?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, aren't we all? They are baseball, after all. Whatever. I mean,
Ohtani scored 2 runs, so I landed the first overall pick in my fantasy draft.
Oh, did
so
you?
Had to go.
Is
obviously.
this yours or Stan's?
This is not mine. This is my
yours.
personal. Yeah. All right. So 2-run score, that helps.
Sure, if you say so. There was when I was watching, it was 3-1, and there's the bottom of the 8th, and the Cubs had a runner on, and Seiya Suzuki came to the plate, and like, it was a scene at that moment. Like, Suzuki at the plate in Japan, the chance to, tie the game if he had hit a home run. There was a genuine atmosphere. In fact, he fouled a ball off that, like, I thought off the bat was pretty clearly foul, but the crowd was duped by it, and, like, the place was going crazy thinking that he had just come up with a big hit in that spot. So, yeah, I mean, the atmosphere seems great, and it's obviously not the ideal timing to get people in this country fired up about the official start of baseball season, but, it's a long season. There's plenty of time for that. The Dodgers winning 4-1 in the series opener against the Cubs in the first regular season game of the year this morning.
But you're saying get your bets in now, World Series.
I mean,
2025.
I don't think you can make any money betting on the Dodgers. I haven't looked, but my guess is those odds aren't great. They're probably damn near one. I mean, as much as you can for a World Series favorite before the season. I think it's got to be about overwhelming for the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, he joins us every Tuesday. Let's see what they got wrong in building the bracket, because he certainly knows more than they do. He is our friend, Mr. Discourse himself, D1S Course on Blue Sky and Twitter, Washington Post, Blue Ribbon, USA Lacrosse Magazine. Patrick Stevens back with us on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am well, Glenn. How are you this morning?
I'm all right. Everybody's screaming and losing their minds, but did they do as poor of a job, and is it as conspiratorial as everyone thinks that it is?
I am not one that believes in those conspiracy theories. I do think there's something to be said for, maybe it's time to not have athletic directors and commissioners do this just because it looks bad.
Yeah, why present that? I brought that up yesterday, which is like, we've always just kind of accepted that, but like inherently when this stuff happens, it is hard to convince people there's no way. Like, I get it.
I do think, and listen, I don't know Bubba Cunningham. I know people who do and think very highly of him and think very highly of his integrity and all that. So right. I'm not going to rip the UNC athletic director, but I do think that, as somebody pointed out, and UNC helpfully has all of the PDFs of their athletic director and coaches on their website, and Cunningham gets 1/12 of his salary whenever Carolina makes the NCAA tournament. Maybe it would be a good thing to make a show of things and say, hey, we're going to donate this to, the scholarship fund, or we're going to donate this bonus to something, or to the local, the university hospital or whatever, right? Just to basically, that's not going to shut crazy people up saying that there's a conspiracy here. But it wouldn't be a terrible idea in this very moment.
All right.
Anyway,
yes.
But to kind of dig into what the obvious thing you're getting at here is, why is Carolina in and maybe somebody else isn't? I thought there was one spot in the field for 3 not great teams: Xavier, North Carolina, Indiana. Xavier had 1 quad 1 win and 3 victories over the tournament field. They had won at Marquette, and they'd beaten Creighton and Connecticut at home. Carolina had 1 quad 1 win in 13 tries and had 2 victories over the tournament field, UCLA and American. And then Indiana had 4 quad 1 wins, but a couple of those were like Penn State on the road and Iowa on the road, something of that ilk. Those bottom end of the back of the Big Ten teams. And then they won at Michigan State, they beat Purdue at home, and they won against SIU Edwardsville for 3 wins against the tournament field. Okay. And the thing that I personally wasn't banking on happening, I thought that West Virginia's player availability issue Tucker DeVries played the first 8 games. They got Arizona, they got Gonzaga in there. They played well in that early stretch of the season. And then after that, they weren't quite as good. But they still beat Kansas and they still beat Iowa State without them. I thought that might nudge them into Dayton territory and into a play-in game. And instead it knocked them all the way out of the field. So that kind of opened up space for 2 of those teams. And the fact is, I didn't think there was much daylight between Carolina and Xavier. To me, the most baffling thing the committee said was with the seed list, and there were 3 teams worth of daylight between Carolina and Xavier, which makes absolutely no sense at all. I'm not inclined to get too upset about it one way or the other, simply because
These are bad
I thought
teams.
there was one team. There was one team that didn't really do a whole lot that was going to get in anyway.
Yeah.
It turns out to be 2, and it's not as if West Virginia acquitted itself all that great down the stretch. I mean, look, beat last place Colorado in your conference tournament, and we might not even be having this conversation.
That's sort of where I am. Like, these teams aren't good enough for me to be losing my mind about any of them making the tournament. It's like, this is what you are. You roll the dice when you don't get the job done. On the local front, I think there's some confusion from Maryland fans about Purdue being seeded higher in the overall seed line than Maryland. Did that make, like, I immediately was like, well, that just must mean their wins above bracket was better. Then I looked and I saw that wasn't the case either. Can you explain that one to me? Not that it makes a significant difference, other than it would have probably been nice for Maryland fans and for the team to have been able to stay on the eastern side of the country.
Yeah, 2 parts to that. I'll talk about the second part of it first. The upshot of going west right now is you get to probably stay west, right? Like, it'd be one thing if you had to go to Seattle and then you had to go to, say, the South Regional Final regional weekend in Atlanta. But at least they're going west and staying west potentially if they're out there. So, arguably, I think that might actually help them the second weekend they're out there, much like it did back in 2001 when they went Boise-Anaheim. But I think the fact that Purdue is ahead of Maryland, and that, let's tie in Michigan being on the 5 line despite winning the Big Ten tournament too. What that sort of reinforces is the committee has more and more over the years, really the last 5 or 6 years in particular, basically said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to seed the top 4 or 5 lines of this thing by Wednesday or Thursday. And that's it. So, like, if you're not playing your first conference tournament game until Friday, like, it doesn't matter. Like, those games don't matter unless we're talking about an automatic berth, basically. So, I tend to think that Michigan's games didn't mean anything to the committee. I think that the committee evaluated Purdue over Maryland, which I would not have done even going into the Big Ten tournament. But that's what they apparently did. So I did not think Purdue's overall profile was as good as Maryland's for any number of reasons. But that's how the committee saw it. I'm not entirely sure what they were looking at there, but that's just kind of how it went.
All right. By the way, it's a very fair way of explaining where, like, that might have been wrong, but it also might work out in their benefit anyway, and so maybe not worth hand-wringing about it. Maybe
I would point out, like, Purdue was 7-10 in quad 1 games. Maryland was 8-7. They were both right around 500 away from home or in true road games. Better record for Maryland, but some of that, candidly, is a function of having played a much worse non-conference schedule.
Sure.
I mean, I think some of this probably does come down to the fact that they didn't accomplish a whole lot in non-conference play. But when you look at the metrics, like, Maryland is between 10 and 19 in all of them. Whereas you look at Purdue, and Purdue rates no higher than 12th in any of them, and that's only in one of them. The rest of them are between 19 and 27. So it's one of those that that was one of the things that didn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know if it rates as high as Louisville as an 8 seed in terms of total illogic. Yeah. But there's a longer conversation to have if you want to have about just, what the skill sets are of the people on the committee. The idea of being good athletic administrators. Maybe there's not as much, you put the Venn diagram with that and being able to, not necessarily process data, but sort of be nimble about evaluating things like that. maybe there's something to be said about tweaking that process and involving other people.
I think that you might be onto something. I think that might be the case. All right, so let's get in, and we will talk about Mount St. Mary's in a minute, but let's start with Maryland and where they do end up getting seeded. They are the 4, Grand Canyon, and then Memphis or Colorado. I know that people think the West in general is very strong, and I get that, but is there something to be said for, again, maybe this is a little bit more favorable to Maryland because Memphis looks like one of the weaker 5s, although I do think Colorado looks like one of the stronger 12s.
Yeah, I thought Colorado State was underseeded as well there. Again, but that's a multi-year committee undervaluing the Mountain West thing that continued this year. Both New Mexico and Utah State probably belonged on the 9 line based on the criteria and were instead 10 seeds. And I had Colorado State on the 10 line as well. So I do think that team has been playing, great here for the last month and a half or so. So would not be shocked in the slightest if Colorado State is able to come out of that game. The reality is that if you're a 4 seed, as Maryland is, and deservingly so, that's where Maryland belongs, whether they were going to be in Providence or whether they were going to be out west, they had earned a spot on the 4 line. And so, you're probably going to get one game where you can, mess around a little bit, but you're probably going to be okay if you play reasonably well. Like Grand Canyon is a legitimate program. They've been in the tournament, I think, now 4 out of the last 5 years under Bryce Drew. A really, really strong WAC program, but also a team that Maryland should be able to beat, by 10 to 12 points, assuming they play pretty well, if not by more than that. And after that, you're basically just getting yourself into toss-ups or worse. And so if you're Maryland, you're a 4 seed, I think you take the draw that you have. You can sit there and stare at a possible Sweet 16 game against Florida, who's really playing well at this point, or possibly Connecticut, which I don't think anybody really wants to see Connecticut in that 8-9 game if you're a 1 seed. But but at the same time, this is not the same Connecticut team as the last couple years. They certainly can't defend as well as the last couple years. And then on the other half of the draw, you've got St. John's, another team breathing fire, a well-coached Texas Tech team as a 3 seed. And then, the 6 and 7s down there, Missouri and Kansas, I think are both prime for, maybe a stumble here, particularly Missouri, which I thought was overseeded a little bit. And they have the misfortune of drawing Drake, which is a team that's more than capable of picking off somebody really, really good. One of the more unheralded numbers this year is that Drake heads into the tournament with a combined 6-0 record in quad 1 games. So certainly a team that is more than capable of surprising somebody. And I do think that that's a game that people should look at as a real upset possibility.
Chatting with Patrick Stevens here on GCR. Patrick, I know this is the NCAA tournament and goofy things happen. I've been trying to define the way that I'm saying this, that, maybe particularly with some of the rumors swirling about wanting to give I just said Mark Turgeon, jeez, Kevin Willard a big contract. How important, it feels like this is hey, if you don't get out of the first weekend, it can be measured as a disappointment. And given the overall totality of things, it feels like it's kind of imperative if Maryland basketball is going to matter and be relevant, that at some point you accomplish something that it would be particularly devastating if they don't get out of it at least the first weekend here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it's a year-to-year thing, right? Like that's just the reality of the current situation.
Right. Yep.
That it's college basketball. It's a year-to-year thing.
Yep.
So, as much as I hate to say this, it puts maybe a greater onus on, well, you have this opportunity and you better take advantage of it, as opposed to, well, we've got this core group of guys and maybe we fell short this year, but there's a bunch of juniors and sophomores in there and they'll all be back. And, essentially the 2000 to 01 to 02 argument in Maryland. It's the exact same. It's that kind of thing is the sort of the traditional type of thing. So, I've been sort of amused by some of the stuff surrounding this apparent extension, which could well happen. I mean, I think if you're a coach, you always want to have at least 4 years left on your deal at any given time. And after this year, Willard will have 4 years left. So it was probably about time for him to go knocking on the door and seeing if he could get an extra year or two at this point. But pitching it as, oh, well, they're going to build a practice facility as part of this. Well, that practice facility that's already almost completely built, that one, really?
Right.
How credulous are you people?
Yeah.
Like that's not part of this deal. So anyway, that's just something that's been bothering me as I sit there and
fully
puzzle
understand.
over this.
I fully, and knowing the source, I'm not surprised.
So in any case, I would certainly say that if you're going to bump up, if you're going to bump it out a couple of years, it's certainly fairly justified at this point. I will also point out that when we sit here and think about Maryland as an athletic department, as an institution, with all due respect to everybody involved, if your football coach is basically going to have a year this coming year where he makes $6 million, and your basketball coach is looking at a year where this coming year where he would be making $4.2 million, well, should those not be fairly close, if not tilted towards basketball at this institution, given what actually pays the bills?
This is such a big picture conversation that we could probably do a 6-hour show.
It
about,
is, isn't
right?
it?
Like it's the eternal argument that I'm to understand there are even people within the athletic department that have this ongoing debate about whether or not Maryland should just say we're a basketball school, deal with it, or whether the changing culture of college football has demanded that they pretend to be a football program so that they don't get left behind and they aren't in the whatever the next FCS is going to be, where all of the schools that aren't in the I know exactly what you're saying, but I also understand from a financial place where they're like, hey, if it would be devastating to basketball if we aren't in that highest end of college football. So we have to commit this way towards football. We don't have a choice but to do it. And I don't know the correct answer.
Yeah, I don't. Nobody really does.
I mean, like it looks like
that
UConn's going to be okay. Like Villanova seems like they're going to be okay in a world where they don't have the highest level of college football. I don't know if it demands that myself.
Well, I think that one of the things that's very common about the way things work in terms of decisions in college athletics is that people tend to make decisions based on fear.
Yep.
And fear, in general, in your day-to-day life, in big picture strategic things, you make pretty good decisions for the short term based on fear.
Right.
Oh, you're not thinking long term. You're not really gaming things out over the long term. And I'm sure there's an athletic director that could listen to this and say, well, you don't understand what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, like, guess what? Like, your fan base isn't going to magically change one way or the other, right? Like, I think you have now really 50-some years of evidence to suggest what moves the needle here on its own. Like, the reality is at Maryland, people will get upset when a basketball team is hovering around 500.
Yep.
And when a football team's doing that, they'll shrug their shoulders and say, "When's basketball?"
Right. Exactly right. I get it. I completely understand, Patrick. We would be doing. I'm already going to keep you long today, and we would be keeping it way too long if we continued on this topic. Let me talk about Mount St. Mary's, because that was obviously really special, what they did going to Atlantic City and winning 3 games to get into the tournament. And we just had Donnie on earlier in the show. You and I talked before the season, and I referenced you when I was talking to Donnie, because every couple of weeks you would say to me, Glenn, you need to be paying attention to what's going on out there. There's something happening. I don't know that you knew that meant that they were going to have a chance to do this, but it was clear there was a foundation there, and pretty remarkable that in year 1, Donny Lind is able to win the MAAC tournament title.
I think the amazing thing is that they went a stretch in the middle of the season, and they were without Terrell Ard Jr. He had a back injury, and they went like 2-5 or something like that without him. And he comes back and they win 4 in a row. Granted, most of it was against the bottom of the league. And then he gets hurt again. He he ruptures his Achilles tendon on February 28th. And the last time I saw them in person was their next game when they gutted one out against Siena. And their guys were basically saying, like, yeah, we feel like going without Ard the first time was sort of like a dress rehearsal for what we're going to have to do now. And so, they go up and they predictably lose to the first-place team, Quinnipiac, a couple days later. And then since then, they've beaten the third-place team, the second-place team, and the fourth-place team. And they're going to the NCAA tournament, winning that league, which is a much better league, I think, than the NEC was, in only their third year there, with a first-year coach who really impressed with his coaching chops in a number of different spots. A really cool story. You look at the way they defended. It's kind of funny because Donnie would have told you coming in that, he thought of himself as an offensive coach, and he worked for Mike Jones down at Radford and UNC Greensboro, who is a very defensive-minded coach. And for them to win their last 4 games, giving up 52, 58, 55, and 49, really says something about the commitment that they were able to have. They did it without Ard. You look at the fact that they basically they won that entire tournament without Carmelo Pacheco. I mean, you're down 2 of your top, 5 or 6 guys right there. A really impressive showing, and now they get the chance to go win a game against a team they usually play in American, but didn't happen to this year. And then with a possible ticket to go play Duke come Friday.
That American story, obviously, for Maryland fans, significant not only because of Dwayne Simpkins, who I've always loved, one of my favorite people, but maybe this is why Mark Turgeon's name came out of my mouth earlier. The learning that Mark Turgeon apparently has been consulting Dwayne Simpkins all season and has been there for home games has been a huge part of what American's done this season.
Well, the funny thing is that I've been to a fair number of AU home games. I didn't see Turge at all, so he is probably hiding pretty well. But that's pretty cool for Mark to be able to have some hand in that. Remember, we talked to Kevin Brodus a couple preview shows ago, and he was saying that Turge would come up and work with his team every couple of weeks or so over at Morgan State. So, it's good.
And that made sense based on the
regardless of how you feel about how things
no doubt.
in Maryland.
No, what's amazing to me about this is Dwayne openly acknowledging how much it hurt him that he was passed over for Maryland jobs under Mark Turgeon, and yet was still said, if this guy can help me, he can help me. I thought it was a real testament to Dwayne that he was like, look, I can't lie, it bothered me, and I don't blame him for it. He's a Maryland guy, like he wanted those jobs. But he thought that Mark Turgeon could help him, and so he bit the bullet and said, let's do this. I think that's a good story that goes beyond basketball.
Yeah, and I think, too, like, it's good to see somebody like Dwayne, who is a really good dude.
Yes.
In all of my experiences with him. But, you think about the guys that are trying to get head coaching jobs, and there's a lot of guys that are boisterous and kind of full of it in a lot of ways. That's not who Dwayne Simpkins is. Nope. He's kind of an understated, steady guy. And frankly, like, American is almost the perfect type of job, to get for somebody like that to get their first head coaching job at, because there's not a whole lot flashy about Bender Arena, about the program's history. You go back to the stories of Gary Williams going over and playing at Fort Myer and having to move the weights around and all that just to be able to have a court to work with and things like that. So, I think it's been great kind of watching him settle in as a head coach. And there's definitely some stuff there where you talk to him and is understated and is as, cool as he can be. There's some fire there too.
Sure.
And, I think that he certainly has figured out how to kind of meld the personalities on his team. A guy like Matt Rogers, who's a fantastic player. Matt Rogers is also a very emotional player, and being able to handle that in the right way.
Like, we had fun with talking about that. Like, that was that's a technical foul that in that moment maybe did open things up a little bit for Navy to try to make that interesting later on in the first half. And yet he's worked with that this season. That'll be an interesting one locally tomorrow night. I don't know that there's much to say on the lacrosse front other than Maryland just keeps rolling.
I didn't watch any of it this weekend, so let's not bother with it.
Let's play the game. Can Patrick Stevens?
Do you want to play the game, or I kind of wanted to bring up John Fine.
Oh my God, Patrick! Thank you. No. That's a much better way for us to spend our time. Thank you, 100. And I know that you obviously had a personal relationship with John, and boy, we all know what a brilliant writer he was, and he could be a curmudgeon, but damn if he wasn't one of the kindest curmudgeons I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, John I got to know him really the last 8 to 10 years or so. As you can imagine, for somebody like me that would pop up at American and George Mason and UMBC when he was calling the games there, it was certain places you're not going to run into that many people, but you knew there was a decent chance you would run into John. And so, I certainly enjoyed his college basketball books a ton and getting to know him a bit. He physically was in kind of rough shape when I saw him last at the ACC tournament last year in DC, and sat next to him for a couple days. And as you probably know, he's not much of a technology guy.
Yep.
And so, he was having trouble filing, and I just let him use, it's like, hey, can you help me get on the wireless and all this stuff? And he left his phone someplace, so he's calling, he's calling into the desk to make sure his column lands or stuff like that. At the end of the second day, and like I said, he's having some balance issues. And so, we're getting to the end of the second day. He was there for the afternoon sessions, and it was a running commentary, all the greatest hits. And I said to him, John, I just want to tell you, I know you're not, physically feeling all that great right now, but I just need you to know that you are still elite at complaining. and without skipping a beat, he says, well, I don't hear anyone else complaining, and somebody has to do it.
Somebody's got to do it, yep.
And it's like, well, that just about sums things up,
John Feinstein.
So,
Patrick, I said it was one of the first, cool moments for me in my life. I think I was at Army-Navy doing the Radio Row years ago, and John had just been on my show the day before, and then the guy that was running the Radio Row was like, well, Feinstein's going to come by, and I joked, and he heard me, and I was like, John, they want you to do my show again the day after you just did it yesterday. And he was like, well, do you not want me? And I said, I was like, well, no, of course. And then I said, but it's starting to be that we're almost like we're becoming friends. And he said to me, he's like, Glenn, do you not think I'm your friend? And it was like this, for me, who had grown up reading John Feinstein, it was one of the first really cool moments that I had where I was like, John Feinstein thinks of me as a friend. I can't believe that's maybe cool for 6 people in the world, but it's cool as hell for me. It was a genuine, touching feeling. And for your point, as often as we knew John to complain or to be a curmudgeon, he would go way out of his way to make time for him. Griffin told a great story that he never told me, where he texted him about coming on the show and said, could you do a couple of minutes? And John said, no. A couple of minutes isn't nearly enough. He wanted to give more of his time. I will forever be grateful for the relationship that I had with you. And I the Army-Navy book is one of my 5 favorite books of all time. It means that much to me. I can't believe that John Feinstein went out of his way to be my friend. It really still makes me pinch myself that was a relationship I got to have with that guy.
I will also tell you that especially with, I'd say this is in the last 10 years or so, I would generally make it a point to buy his books, right when they came out, as opposed to reading things like March to Madness and Season on the Break many, many years after they came out. Mm-hmm. And every time I would say, I'd say, I really enjoyed Legends Club. He goes, well, tweet about it, And so it's like, okay, fine. I'll give you a plug on Twitter as if that's going to actually matter.
Right.
But he did give me, I think, kind of figuring out that, what my lane was. I'm going to go buy your Back Roads to March and your Legends Club book, but I'm probably not going to buy your quarterback book.
Right.
Okay. So he gives me a copy of the quarterback book, and what I didn't recall until I was thinking about this just a couple days ago, there was actually an inscription, he wrote out, he signed it and all that, just on the inside. He says, to Patrick, who undoubtedly knows the career stats of all 5 of my main characters, which was pretty much perfect right there too, And so, I will tell you, it was really, really strange to be sitting courtside next to, and I didn't realize until later that day that he was supposed to be at the A10 tournament that day, sitting courtside in Cap 1. The A10 had kindly put out his credential and a name tag and all that. and just kind of processing that as you're hearing from coaches, you're hearing from referees, administrators, other media members, just kind of the experience that, and I don't think I've entirely processed that from the last several days of just like that really was the kind of thing he would have loved to have been. I thought on Sunday during that Mason VCU game, it's like, man, Feinstein would have absolutely loved this game, would have absolutely loved writing this game because it was just so up his alley.
It's so true. It's so true, man. Patrick, I greatly appreciate you reminding me that we needed to do that. And we will talk, and we will play the game next week, and we will talk about whatever happens this first week of the tournament at Discourse, D1S Course on Blue Sky and on Twitter. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for doing this morning, man.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Have a good one.
Man, I got a little emotional listening to Patrick talk about John Feinstein. I really don't know if I expressed enough when we had the conversation, like how unbelievable it was to me that this guy that, like, we all wanted to be just wanted to give you more of his time. I'll never forget that Army-Navy thing. We just had him on the day before. He wanted to come back on the next day. And yes, I joke that, like, part of it is John always loved the sound of his own voice. Yes, he did. And he would have been the first to tell you that he loved the sound of his own voice. When Drew's in tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be telling some Feinstein stories because, Drew loved John. They certainly did not, as you know, politically line up with each other, and yet they were great friends. The guy just wanted to give you more time and talk to you and tell stories, and boy, did he have them in abundance. And for being someone of his star, part of what made his star was seeking out a story. And, like, even reading the Ivy League football book last year, which I would have never, in no other circumstance. If any other author was writing that book and it was pitched to us, I just don't have time for that. I'm sorry. But John Feinstein wrote an Ivy League football book, and so I'm going to read it, despite not knowing any of the characters, not knowing, although, God, there was somebody who was coaching in the Ivy League that was like, I didn't realize. Was it Mike Shula? Was that who? Somebody who was coaching, not even as a head coach, like I remember, like, being like, that's where that person was? I had no idea, and I've already forgotten who it was. Not knowing any of the characters. If John Feinstein wrote it, yep. I'll spend time reading it, and I'll be fascinated because that's how good John Feinstein was. He was just the absolute best at this, and wanted to be my friend. I mean, it blew me away. It just blew me away. And was close. I was talking to Gary Stein, who we saw over the weekend, who obviously was his partner for UMBC games for a few years. And, like, if you think Drew and Feinstein are separated politically, he and Gary, I mean, there is no. I mean, Gary's over on WCBM. You know what I mean? Like, there couldn't be a bigger differential. But stayed in touch, talked to each other constantly. What a special human, man. And part of why we loved him was his curmudgeonry. Like, he wanted to fight you. He wanted to tell you why you were wrong. He wanted to, you don't know what you're talking about. But he wanted to do it. He didn't want to dismiss you. He wanted to engage. He wanted to have the conversation, and he wanted to know everyone, and he wanted to know your story and who you know and how you connect. It was his brilliance as a journalist that translated as an author, right? Like, but as a journalist, he got the information. He knew everyone. Appreciate that from Patrick. That's when the nature of the 24-hour news cycle is that, like, you just forget. Like, I knew it was going to come up when we talked to Drew tomorrow, but I just forgot that, like, Patrick would be the perfect. 'Cause Patrick and I would talk about our interactions with John. Like, we would have Patrick and I always have these, like, funny off-air conversations where Patrick's got a little bit of John Feinstein to him. Like, he'll acknowledge that. Like, he's not going to be mad at me for saying he's a curmudgeon too. But we'll find people that we'll talk about, and then we'll find ourselves saying, yeah, but damned if I don't really like that guy, or I really don't really get along. Something that we bonded over early was our mutual appreciation of Ralph Regin. For both of us from covering him, that just we genuinely appreciated him as a person. And I get a little emotional talking about Ralph. Like, Ralph would go out of his way. Come to my office. Let's talk. To try to inform me. And there was a genuine goodness. There still is. He's still with us. To Ralph Regin that I appreciated. And there were things that he would say sometimes that would kind of make you roll your eyes. But I appreciated the genuine goodness of Ralph. It meant a lot to me. And Patrick and I would talk about that. And we'd have fun and, but we would bond over that. And John Feinstein, for as curmudgeonly as he could be, for as, you're still the best at complaining is such a good line. He was a really good and giving person, particularly with his time, and not just on the air. If I just wanted to talk to Patrick's point, like you saw John somewhere, you just wanted to talk to him. He did not think he was a bigger. There are people in this business that buy into their own celebrity, that when they show up somewhere, they believe that they're part of the show. Even though they're working. They believe that they're one of the stars. At the Super Bowl, you see it all the time. You see people that forget that we're like the players in the game are the people that they believe because they work for a big network or whatever that they're the celebrity. John Feinstein, despite being like the greatest sports author of a generation and a media star, did not act like that when he was at a UMBC basketball game, at a Navy football game, whatever it was. He was available and accessible and wanted to talk to you. Like, wanted to. Not just didn't just accept it. He wanted to spend time talking to you because you might have a story, and that was interesting to him. Special man. All right, we'll come back in. We'll wind it down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we're winding down for a Tuesday edition of the program. I don't believe there was anything that I missed that we needed to cover from today. There was a baseball game. Gunnar Henderson, I guess we're now pretty confident is good for opening day.
Oh, all right, good.
So that's good news.
You want to hear what Gunnar's bracket was? Or?
I saw Auburn, right?
Yeah, Auburn.
Which is where he would have gone if he had gone to college, so that makes sense.
Why is he a big High Point fan? I don't understand that.
He must know somebody. Does he have them winning multiple games?
Who? He has them in the Sweet 16, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then he has them losing by 2 to Houston.
You just said you have UC San Diego in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, but they're a 12 seed.
Okay. It's crazy. A 13 seed couldn't.
And I'm confident they'll beat Michigan, in the first round. That helps.
Right.
I don't know if High Point's beating Purdue.
Sure.
Is there an Oriole that went to High Point?
No idea. I couldn't possibly. I don't know a single thing about High Point. I know they're the Panthers. I know
Where are they?
North Carolina.
Yeah, they're
Come
North
on
Carolina.
and raise up. Take your shirt off. Twist it around your head. Spin it like a helicopter. I think that Richie Meade might have. No, he was Furman, not High Point.
Apparently, there are only 4 MLB players that have ever made it.
I'm surprised there are 4. Frankly,
Major League Baseball from High Point. Andre Scrub.
Sure. 0 for 1.
We got Jamie Schultz.
0 for 2.
We got Cody Allen. Yeah. Wait. No. But this must be a different Cody Allen. Because he only played 1 year.
Okay. Then 0 for 3.
Wait, no. He does that. Why does that look like the Cody Allen from Cleveland?
That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, they're saying. Okay, I see what I'm looking at. They have the years that he was at High Point. Okay, that's why. He was at High Point. Yes, it is the Cody Allen. Okay,
right,
so he's legit.
Yeah.
The Cody Allen.
All right.
World Series champion Cody Allen. Dick Kohler.
1 for 4.
He played in 1936.
Yeah, no one of those guys. Okay, so there's that.
Yeah.
There's that. I think that's it. Was there anything else news-wise? I don't think there was. Aziz Ojulari. I think a few people were still maybe interested. And look, that was a guy that I thought the Ravens should target at the trade deadline. Somebody would say, did he ultimately prove to be that much different? Like, I was so down on Josh Uche. Aziz Ojulari got off to a great start last year and then didn't do much the rest of the season. So, inevitably, might not have helped the Ravens all that much either. And now going to Philadelphia, I almost pencil him in for double-digit sacks next year. Just assume if he's going to Philadelphia that he's going to be a rock star somehow. But I wouldn't have been opposed to it in a world where there weren't good options available. I wouldn't have been opposed to the Ravens bringing Aziz Ojulari, but I'm certainly not as high on him at the end of the season as I was going into the trade deadline when he was off to a great start and it looked like maybe he was finally rounding into form as a pro. That didn't sustain as the year went on, but inevitably Philadelphia would probably be a good spot for him to go about doing that. That just seems like the type of thing that happens to guys when they go to Philadelphia. I think that's it. I feel like there's somebody messaged me about something last night, and I've already forgotten what it was.
John in Little Rock was saying, this is completely unrelated, that he loved seeing Third Eye Blind on Tiny Desk.
Oh, yeah, their Tiny Desk was really good. I remember I went to a show. That was a warm-up show for their Tiny Desk.
Oh, okay. That's right.
I went. They played at the Anthem. Not the Anthem, no. Much smaller. What's the place? The Atlantis is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Which is
930 Club.
Around the corner from the 930 Club.
Oh, okay.
But it's very small. I mean, it's like a 300, 400
Oh, really?
person. I mean, it's a very small room. And so it was cool for me because I love Third Eye Blind to see them there. And the reason why they were doing it was because they were purposely trying to play small venues to rehearse for Tiny Desk concert, because it was apparently a big deal to them that they were asked to do Tiny Desk concert. And my buddy Brandon and I were tweeting about or texting about it all day yesterday. We're like, yeah, he definitely could not still hit the note in slow motion. Like, that was painful. But he kind of realized that, and then in Motorcycle Drive-By smartly didn't really attempt to hit those sort of screaming notes, and instead let the I think it's all staff that they do that at NPR. I don't think they invite people in from the public. I don't know. But, like, he let the staff at NPR do that instead, and he instead did this, like, kind of cool falsetto that I'd never heard him do on that song before. So, yeah, it was good Tiny Desk. It was that is, like, when I was a younger man, that type of stuff, like, I would watch every single one. And unfortunately now I just don't do it anymore. And then, like, people will tell me, like I only knew about this because they were talking about doing Tiny Desk. But I bet there's like a million Tiny Desks that everybody always talks about Mac Miller's Tiny Desk being like the greatest Tiny Desk of all time. And it was a good one. There's no doubt.
And it was like right before he died,
it was very good. Who did one? Oh, Maxwell did a really good one. Some of it, to me, I think you have to like the artist, and like, no, it's hard for me if I don't know the artist and the songs to be blown away by a Tiny Desk. Someone got me to watch Kirk Franklin, the gospel performer, do Tiny Desk once. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah, that is a good one. James McCann joins the Atlanta Braves on allegedly a minor league deal, but it's like $1 million if he's on the big league team or something like that. And by the way, if you thought I was confused by Brian McCann and James McCann before, now he's on the Braves. Forget it. Like, forget it.
Nice.
If I were down there, I would say the wrong thing.
I think, right?
I did it a couple times earlier on the year where I still called him Brian McCann. If I was working in Atlanta, I would call him Brian McCann every time. Inevitably, that's the way that it would go. Apparently, 3 Orioles were hit with pitches yesterday, but they were all fine.
Kobe Mayo had to leave the game, so they said he was
everybody,
okay.
Everybody was raving about a defensive play that Kobe Mayo made at third base. I'm not going to pretend like I watched the game.
Come on.
I didn't watch the game.
You're an Orioles fan.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game. Apparently, he made a phenomenal defensive play at third base, and some of the beat writers are saying that he's actually acquitted himself pretty well of late at third base, which I don't know what to do with that. Like, I don't...
Are they in on it? They're trying to up his trade value?
That's like, there's that part of you, the conspiratorial place. It's like, maybe that's like they're, I don't know. I have no idea what to do with Kobe Mayo playing well, and he started to swing the bat well of late. But it's spring training, and I'm just not going to overreact to any of those things. So I think that's where I'm at. All right, I think that's good. I think that covers everything. Why don't we go ahead and get a tidbit? Tidbit is brought to you today by... the print issue of Press Box, which is still available at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. David Rubenstein, Orioles owner, on the cover. Go pick that up today for free and read it again at PressBoxOnline.com.
Dr. Pimple Popper's bracket dropped as well yesterday.
Thank you.
And you'd like to know where she's leaning in every single matchup, or should we save this for tomorrow? How's the? Because I know we have to get to it.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it'd be, since we were just talking about Gunner.
How far does she have Maryland going?
She does not like Maryland. She has them losing to Memphis in the round of 32. So yeah.
Well, then I no longer care. I'm no longer concerned about the opinions of Dr. Pimple.
Sorry, Dr. Pee-Pee.
And is that on her business card, Dr. Pee-Pee?
Well, that's what some people call her. Yeah, that's what I don't think it's on the business card, but she responds to it.
Yeah.
So Grand Canyon, obviously Maryland's first round matchup. They became in their championship game, the WAC championship on Saturday night. They became the first Division I team this century to have 6 different players score at least 12 points in their conference tournament championship game.
How about that?
So we're talking about a team with no depth in Maryland.
They've got the Crab 6 or whatever.
The Lope 6. Yeah, I don't know. The Slopes.
No, the Desert 6, the Valley 6. I don't know.
Okay, sure. So of course Ray Harrison, got to be on the lookout for him.
Okay.
Duke Brennan
Yes.
Be careful of him. They got a Jacoby as well, Jacoby Coles.
Okay.
It's Ian Grant Foster, TGT, I think, or TGF. Yeah. We're familiar with him.
So
Mackay Williams and Locke Wurr.
Boy. All right. Well, now we know that.
All guys at might be tough. Might be tough on Friday
This
afternoon.
Again, I'm sorry. As a younger man, I used to really dive in. Like, I would know every detail about an opponent. I just don't have the time. I'm sorry.
Who can we're not previewing Grand Canyon?
I actually know the Grand Canyon color analyst. We can. It's a buddy of mine named Paul Coro. Maybe on Thursday we'll see if he wants to come on. I don't really want to. I hope we have better.
Okay, sure.
I love Paul. Paul was the Suns beat writer for the Arizona Republic, and was very giving of his time. And Paul, when they drafted DJ Strawberry, I had this bit where he would come on one of my shows, and then we wouldn't get to it, and then at the end I would always say so Paul, in the end, would you say 5 or 6 MVPs for DJ Strawberry as a Sun? And I would just keep bringing it back with him, and so I think he might even still remember that if we reached out to him. It's been a long time, but I like Paul. Paul's a good guy.
Okay, yeah, I guess we'll see. Will Smith he had a good game this morning. He reached base safely.
Which Will Smith plays for the Dodgers now?
The catcher has been with the Dodgers, and he's still with them. Do they have both? I
have no idea.
Or they had both at one point.
I think so.
Will
or
Smith,
maybe they weren't together, but they had the other one at one point too.
Will Smith, the catcher. Yeah, that's what it was. Will Smith, the catcher, reached base safely 4 times this morning in Japan, which means that he has now reached base safely in 4 times.
Will Smith, the pitcher, was never a Dodger. I would have lost that if we did that as a Patrick Stevens game.
I guess just because of Will Smith, the Dodger.
I guess.
So it's become the 4th country that he has reached base safely 4 times in: South Korea, Canada, U.S. of course, and now Japan. Will Smith
I
has
got to
reached
get him
base.
one of those Padres Mexico series now, I guess.
Yeah. Five different.
or
he becomes.
London. They play games in London still, right? Do they still do the London thing? Or?
Yeah, they did it last year, right?
Yeah, they did Cubs Cardinals.
Yeah,
in London,
but it feels like it's always the Cubs Cardinals or Cubs.
No,
somebody.
it was Yankees Red Sox for sure.
Oh, really? I thought it was Mets and Cardinals or something one time. I don't know. He becomes the 2nd player ever to reach base safely 4 times in a game in 4 different countries. The other player.
I'm not
you don't know?
Yeah, not gonna get that.
U.S. of course.
Right.
This guy also
Canada.
Yep, Canada.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Japan.
And
Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico. So maybe somebody who played for the Expos.
No, I don't. Well, shoot, was he an Expo? I don't think so.
Because remember, the Expos played half a home season in Puerto Rico one year.
Did they really?
They did when they were in the process of Major League Baseball was clearly going to move them. They played half their home slate.
He was not an Expo
one year. Then was he a Marlin? Because didn't the Marlins do this bit?
He was a Marlin for 5 seasons. 6 seasons.
Okay. All right. Edgar Renteria.
5.5, we'll call it. No.
Juan Castillo.
No.
Juan Pierre.
He's not known. Let's see. He only spent 3 seasons with the team. He's probably most known.
He was with the Marlins longer than he was with this team.
Yeah, he was. Marlins were his longest tenured team, but he spent he spent 2 to 3 seasons with about 8 other teams.
Good. I'll definitely get this guy.
9-time All-Star, World Series champ. He did win a World Series with the Marlins.
Did win. Was it the 03 World Series or the 97 World Series?
97.
So then it could be Bobby Bonilla?
Nope.
Could be Jeff Conine?
Nope.
It could be Devon White?
Nope.
It could be...
Is he still on the... He's currently on the Hall of Fame ballot, or he was last year. I think he still has
Gary Sheffield.
Gary Sheffield, yes. Gary Sheffield, 4 different countries. Will Smith and Gary Sheffield, those are the 2. The most traveled baseball players.
We did this exercise.
You're welcome.
Kind of remarkable how I got it.
I was going to do... we'll do this one. All right, so 9 coaches in this year's field are dancing in their first year with the program. 9
zero chance that I'm...
You should at least get the teams, maybe.
Should I?
I mean, we talked to one today.
I know. I'm going to get that guy, and I'm going to get Patino. Those are the 2 that I got.
Well, no, it's not Patino's first year with the Johnnies, so not Patino.
He was there last year?
Yeah. I think he was there.
Why did I think
he's been there. I think this is his 3rd year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm old. I would have... I could have sworn this was his.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not gonna get this one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do well with this.
I mean, some are. I don't know. All right. We'll go.
This is a bad.
You pull up the bracket and look then.
I don't think that's gonna help.
I think it should.
I don't think it is.
All right, we got one.
Louisville. Oh God. Yeah, Pat Kelsey.
Yes, Pat Kelsey with Louisville in his first year.
I struggled to get 2.
Got Donny Lind, of course. Yeah.
Oh, Dusty May.
Dusty May in Michigan, 3 of the 9.
Who else is a first-year head coach somewhere?
There are 3 SEC teams.
There are 3 SEC teams with first-year head coaches?
Yeah.
Christ.
The 2
Florida, right? No, he's
Nope.
been there for a couple years. What's his name? Oh God, why am I blanking on the Florida coach?
I'm also blanking on Florida at the moment.
Jesus,
It's not
Christ.
Florida.
Oh, whoever replaced Tom Crean at Georgia, right?
No, it's not Georgia.
Is that 2 years now?
Yeah, he's been. Yeah, it's been.
And
2
who is
years.
that?
Hold
I don't even know who that
I'm gonna
is.
go one at a time here. Todd Golden is at Florida.
Todd Golden, thank you.
This is his second. Todd Golden. Yeah, second year. I think last year it also counted though because that was his first year.
If it's his second year, that's how that would work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm making sure you understand.
Am I having a stroke? What would that not? What am I missing here? And who's the Georgia coach?
Their coach would
Chris
be
Beard,
Mike
right?
White. No, not Chris Beard. He is also in his
Second year?
3rd year, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, he's been at Ole Miss for a little bit now.
Wasn't that thing just a month ago? I'm an old man.
Maybe it is his second year. Hold on, but it's not his first year. Nope, 3rd year.
Is it?
Unless, or I guess it says 2023 to present, so maybe
This is
23,
second
24.
year.
Okay.
Yes, he started in the fall. of
He's not the
2023.
answer.
Still, you're gaslighting me a little bit.
Still 3 SEC teams. The one is a
Mark Pope.
Yep, Mark
right,
Pope.
God, that's that I should have gotten.
Mark Pope at Kentucky.
John Calipari.
Johnny Calipari. There you go. That's two right there. Arkansas and Kentucky. The third one, they're a 10 seed this year.
I didn't know the SEC was allowed to have 10 seeds. Who's a 10 seed out of the SEC? Vanderbilt?
Yes,
I don't
Vanderbilt
know
has
who
a
their
new coach.
is.
Mark Byington is
Mark Byington.
in his first year with the Commodores, and a few big wins against the SEC, so that got them into the tournament. So you got 3, the 4, you got 6. So 3 left here. The different conference. We have a Missouri Valley. They only got one team.
Drake.
Yeah,
right?
Drake. Ben McCollum is in his first year with the Drake Bulldogs. And then, of course, again, connect the dots of some guys that left and guys that we've already named and where they came from.
Charleston didn't make the tournament.
Mm-mm.
Florida Atlanta make the tournament?
No,
Florida Atlantic? That's what I meant to say. Oh, BYU.
Yes.
Right. So who's the BYU coach?
His name is a very kind of mundane name. Kevin Young is his name.
Oh yeah,
Kevin
Young.
Young.
He was the Suns' assistant. Actually, I did know that.
Oh, okay. And then in the Mountain West, one of the Mountain West teams as a first-year head coach.
How many of these? I thought you said there were 8.
Or 9.
Oh Christ. Mountain West first year. Well, it's not Colorado State. Nico Medved's been there for a little while. New Mexico. Patino's been at New Mexico for a minute. Is there a new coach? There's not a new coach at San Diego State, right? That's still Dutcher,
yeah,
right?
still Dutcher.
So then, who else made the Boise?
Not Boise. They got cut.
Right.
Trying to think. Oh yeah. So their guy that he went to Washington. So that's why they had a first-year head coach.
Don't remember who the coaches were. Nevada.
No,
that's
not Nevada.
Alford, right?
Yeah.
Who the hell else made the tournament from the Mountain West?
The guy before that now coaches at VCU.
Utah State.
Yes, Utah State. They
Who's their
Gerard
coach?
Calhoun is the new coach at Utah State, replacing Danny Sprinkle at Washington, and then of course before that Ryan Odom. So yeah.
My bad. I got it. Ryan Odom is what got me there, but like I forgot that Utah State was in the tournament.
All right, you're right. That one was a little tougher, I guess.
That was
2 teams.
Oh, are you still going?
Well, I wanted you to end on like a high note, so I wanted to thought I'd give you a winnable one now. Only 2 schools west of the Mississippi have won the tournament in the last 27. Yeah, it's the last 27 years.
It's Arizona.
That would if we made it 28 years, sure, Arizona. I'll give you. So it'd be 3 teams.
What year did they win? 99?
97.
It was 97, really?
Yeah.
Christ.
Yep, Arizona 97.
Holy crap! I didn't realize about that. So Baylor.
So only 2 others since Arizona. Yes, Baylor.
Baylor and this is west of the Mississippi. Who else? Who else has won the tournament west of the Mississippi? Is like Kansas technically west of the Mississippi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would it not be?
I don't know, because I don't know exactly where the Mississippi goes once it gets
It's
to
on
the
the
Midwest.
right side of Missouri.
Oh yeah, Kansas. Yeah, that's right.
So yes, Kansas and Baylor. Correct. Yeah, good job, John Little Rock. He said Calipari earlier.
Last night trivia was disappointing because it was all St. Patrick's Day themed, which.
Oh, your favorite holiday.
Like one of the questions was.
Careful, you're gonna offend here.
No, it's just that I don't care. St. Patrick's is fine. It's just that it's not good for a trivia. Here was the sports question. This professional sports team has a mascot whose name is Lucky the Leprechaun.
That would, I guess, a professional sports team?
Yes. Oh my God, you're not serious.
Well, I want to make sure I'm not I'm looking past one other by accident here. Celtics have
obviously the Celtics
have a leprechaun mascot.
Are you for real?
I thought it was just the guy smoking the pipe or whatever. And whatever his name is. He's a leprechaun?
Oh my God. My head hurts.
I thought he was, I don't know. I just thought he was the Celtic.
I guess they said at one point they ran out of St. Patrick's related questions, so they just made a March themed too. They said studies show that this elective surgery goes up by 40% in the month of March.
LASIK. Wait.
This is embarrassing.
March?
Yeah.
What would go up in March?
Oh, Griffin. This is the most obvious answer of all time.
What happens in March?
I actually did a podcast about it.
You did a podcast on this elective surgery?
On this elective surgery.
Have you gotten it?
Yes, I have. It's extraordinarily common in March. Everyone schedules a men's surgery.
Prostate. No. What would that surgery? Oh, vasectomies.
Jesus.
Why March?
Why March? So you can sit around and watch the tournament for a couple of days.
Oh, okay.
The Washington Post wrote about my penis once.
Yours?
Yes.
Wow. Well, is it all good things?
I scheduled my vasectomy for 2020, and then the NCAA tournament was canceled.
That's hilarious.
And they found thank you for that. And they found out about it, and they had a reporter reach out to me to write about my experience having the NCAA tournament canceled after I had scheduled my vasectomy.
So your vasectomy still, you still got the vasectomy like that?
Yeah, that's, by the way,
this was right before,
yes,
it got completely shut down? And
yeah, this is about the time,
I remember, don't worry. But I
had my vasectomy scheduled. I did an entire podcast series with my doctor, Dr. Brad Lerner, great guy, called What to Expect When You Don't Want to Be Expecting. I was very proud of it. And everything, the point, every other male who's ever had a vasectomy, I scheduled it to be able to, if I got to sit around with frozen peas on my junk for a couple of days, then I might as well have basketball to watch. So that's the reason I scheduled it for when I scheduled it. And then sure enough, a week beforehand, NCAA tournament canceled. I mean,
I didn't know that. Well, I'm
it was
sorry.
Canceled. I think it was the Friday of conference tournament week that everything started to go to hell.
It was Thursday, where it was like that was when like Kansas pulled out, and then
so
it was like
then it was
shoot.
It was 1 week. It was one. So maybe it was Thursday, and then my vasectomy was scheduled for Thursday morning of the following week, and then I was just gonna hang out and watch hoops. That was the plan. And
Maryland was gonna be good.
I
know you don't think they were.
I mean, whatever. But like the reporter from the Post was like incredulous about it. He's like, "So you're not rescheduling?" I'm like, "What? Are you out of your mind?" Like, no. And he said, "Well, like I've talked to 2 other guys. Like there were 3 of us that he wrote about in this story." He was like,
you were the only one carrying it through.
And they were like, "Well, yeah, they decided they were going to postpone." I'm like, one guy apparently thought it was like a message from God to not have the vasectomy.
The pandemic.
It's absolutely unreal. It's like, you want me to change a major life decision because
it's vasectomy.
Because the basketball tournament. That's a major life decision.
Yeah,
Griffin.
it is. But
because the basketball tournament got canceled, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Somebody else.
Who was the
did.
reporter?
I don't remember. He was a nice guy, really nice guy. But yeah,
he's trying to talk you out of it.
He was like, "So now what are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna like rewatch Curb Your Enthusiasm or something. I'm going to find something. There's a million things to do. That's what I'm going to do." My sons did not care. They were also supposed to go to their grandmother's house for the weekend, but then, the world shut down. So the grandmother was like, "I don't know. I guess we're not allowed to do that." And so
it's a serious thing, Glenn.
My sons then came up and wanted to jump on top of him. I'm like, "No!" In my recliner, like an old man with frozen peas on my junk. They want to come jump on top of me. Then my son thought I was lonely up there by myself. So he was like, "Do you want to play Moncala?" I'm like, "Thanks, buddy. We'll play some Moncala." And I, got through. It was fine.
Did you beat him?
Sure I did. Kid can't beat me in Moncala. Come on, dog. What are we doing? Yeah. I can't believe you struggled with that.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's not something that's been on my mind.
Not for you, but like every year, there's like 70 think pieces that are written about this.
I've never heard of this phenomenon.
This is out.
I mean,
this
maybe I live under a rock. I guess
Masters weekend are the 2 biggest.
Maybe it's my feed is very specific for me, where I'm not getting the 40-year-old.
This I didn't learn about it when I was 40, Griffin. I knew about this forever. The moment you learn what a vasectomy is,
March 18th, 2025 is the first day I was like, oh, that does make sense. Why you do it then.
Vasectomy is when you learn about how there's a boom for vasectomies during March Madness. Everyone knows. It's like every year they talk about how many people don't work during the Monday after the Super Bowl, how much like business is lost. There's 70 billion pieces about it. Every year, every local news channel does a story about vasectomies in March Madness.
John... Yeah,
of course John knows about it.
He knows about this? Okay.
Griffin had never heard that there was a boom in vasectomies in March. Yeah, it's such common knowledge. Trivia. No.
Thank you.
This is also the same guy that thought that Bangladesh was a city in Europe. You're trying to make excuses for him, and you're not going to be able to do that.
That was...
Yeah, over here, John's trying to defend
I wasn't
him.
ready.
He's young. He might not know. No,
I wasn't
he
ready.
Thought Bangladesh was a city in Europe.
I was you set me up because
I
you
didn't
probably
set
knew
you
where
up.
Raw was.
I had no idea.
And you were like, "Let's make him look
said
it up."
that
And I know it's gonna be really
I
hard to
purposely
find.
Said 5 times.
So
that
I
it was in
I had to click
Europe.
through 5 different links to find out that it was in Brussels.
It's nothing to do with the fact that you guessed Bangladesh.
I
You
wasn't
didn't even know where Raw
focused.
was. You could have guessed Brussels, which is definitively a city in Europe.
I wasn't completely focused on the.
Also,
on the
that was
task.
what was in my pants when I had my vasectomy.
Brussels?
Frozen Brussels. Or down. I do remember the panic of realizing I had to go to the grocery store that morning during the pandemic, and the stories of how there had been like fights at the grocery store. I was like, is there even going to be anything in the frozen section for me to get to shove down my pants?
God.
Some
that freaking week.
Corn and broccoli, I think, is what I was able to find.
I remember we were just messing around too, like like my siblings and I, like they were in high school. I was in my second year of college, and it was just like, oh, this is cool. We get like 2 weeks off.
Yeah, cool, huh? Real cool.
Just going to Walmart, messing around, and
hit the thing. God, let's do this.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise this evening. The NCAA Tournament does indeed get underway, the first 4 out in Dayton. So no Rita and Glenn on the Fan tonight. I know, don't send your angry letters somewhere else. I'm sorry. Nothing I can do about it. I have opinions, but I will keep them to myself. St. Francis, you can't because you can't miss this game. St. Francis and Alabama State at 6:40.
Big one.
And then North Carolina, San Diego State at 9:10 on True TV. Navy lacrosse, 6 o'clock. They host Lemoyne on ESPN+. The Salisbury's at home at 4 against Denison. Maryland baseball hosts Georgetown at 4 on Big Ten Network+. Orioles and Blue Jays tonight, but absolutely no broadcast whatsoever for Eric Lauer and Charlie Morton.
Rock
so
Abaco's
watch
Twitter
on,
accounts.
Your
And
preferred
Jake Rill's
beat
Twitter
writer's
account,
Twitter account. Jacob Calvin Meyer's Twitter account. That's how you can watch it. The NIT gets underway tonight. I am not going to go over those matchups. You can find them at GlennClarkRadio.com.
Some good ones, right? Who's Northridge playing? That's the one.
Stanford at 11 on ESPN2.
Yeah, that could work.
There you
go. It's 11. Yeah, 11 o'clock, sir.
Yeah. Another tomorrow morning, 6:10 a.m. for Dodgers Cubs from Tokyo. This one's on FS1 tomorrow morning. At
What was it this
6:10 a.m.
morning?
It was on Fox.
Oh, okay.
Monumental, Red Wings
What's
Capitals.
Fox got going on tomorrow morning that they can't?
I have no idea. Red Wings Capitals, 7 o'clock tonight. I believe for a little while, like if it's not on national TV, then also they're going to put all of the Capitals games on ESPN Plus for the Ovechkin chase.
Oh, okay.
For a little while, if I saw that correctly.
Getting rid of blackouts for now, and
I think that's the deal. Well, that's a good question. Locally, can you watch it on ESPN Plus? Don't know.
Actually, no, I think so.
Because
I feel
the
like
Monumental app has never worked for me. Just awful. Trying to watch Towson lacrosse a couple weeks ago, and just anyway, that's a conversation for a different day. ESPN has the other TGL semifinal. You, of course, know that last night.
Jupiter.
Did you? Did they? Is that
don't
correct?
Know. I don't know. That's the only team I can remember off the top of my head.
I wouldn't know. Tonight at 7, Jupiter. And then Hockey Club Oilers at 9. NBA TV, Nets Celtics 7:30, Bucks Warriors at 10. Tennis Channel, the Miami Open gets underway at 11 a.m. You, of course, know that the winner of Indian Wells was...
it was Tommy Paul.
It was
Carlos Alcaraz.
It was...
Was he in that one?
He lost in the semifinals.
Francis Tiafoe.
No, it was...
It was Andy Murray.
It was a Brit.
It's because it was Draper.
It was Jack Draper, winner of Indian Wells. And on the women's side, it was...
Coco.
It was
Sabalenka.
It was
Iga.
There was some controversy with Iga. She hit a ball right at a ball kid. Yeah, not
on purpose, right?
Not great. She smashed it into the ground.
She was mad.
It looks really bad. It looks really bad. Like it's not. I believe her that she didn't intentionally. She just wanted to smash a ball and didn't intend to.
The kid with the.
It didn't hit it. The kid. It was just right. The video makes it look like she was trying to murder the kid, but she put out this lengthy statement yesterday. No, not Iga. It was.
Oh God.
Yeah, right. Looks bad. It was.
Sorry. I watched.
You've never heard of the person who won.
That's because I have. It was Raducanu.
No, you've never heard of her.
It was
Raducanu's won a slam. This person's never won a slam
because it was
young player, very young player.
Then I guess I don't know. No, because it was what country? Country of origin.
It's not going to help you.
Belarus? Was it one of the Belarus?
Russia.
Okay. That's because it was. I don't know.
I knew that. I tried telling
Sharapova.
you. She's only 17 years old. Mira Andreeva wins Indian Wells.
Andreeva.
Big deal.
Right
Big
there.
Deal. It was right there on the tip of your tongue, I know. But yeah, the Miami Open, the other half of the, what do they call the combination of Indian Wells and the Miami Open, famously?
That's the
blank double. They
the
call
American
it
double.
The Sunshine Double.
The Sunshine Double.
They call it. The
Coast to coast double.
You knew that. MLB Network, Phillies Pirates at 1, Angels Reds at 4, Guardians Rangers at 9. The CW for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Thank God we got basketball back because there's really nothing. Daredevil Born Again, new episode of that on Disney Plus, and Jimmy Fallon's got John Legend and Bill Burr.
Promoting the NCAA Tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
big basketball
guys.
Very
excited about it.
And then of course Aaron Paul and Burt Kreischer on Kimmel.
They are promoting Daredevil.
Really? Burt Kreischer and Aaron Paul?
That's what
Okay, interesting. Burt Kreischer does have a special out on Netflix if anybody's into him.
Sure. What was the line that Nikki Glaser used? She was like, Burt Kreischer's here. I love your joke. So good.
CJ Stroud roasted him once at Rio Row, I think, a year or two ago. Yeah, he
shirts
was
are supposed to say on.
He called him like a fat hamster or something. It was
All right. Every time I see the machine for the Orioles, I'm like, oh, Bert Kreischer's playing for the Birds now. That's great. Thanks to everybody. Thanks today to Seth Greenberg, to Donny Lind, to Patrick Stevens, and to Raphael Davis. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
One Shining Moment.
It wasn't spirited.
Yeah, I know it wasn't.
Maybe use other lyrics from the song throughout the course of the week.
The ball is tipped.
Yeah, that would be good. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, why do I even ask?
Well, we got a big one, yeah. Drew's going to be here.
And we will play the greatest clip in the history of audio. That will happen tomorrow for sure. Get in the bracket contest for F's sake. Let me stop talking about it. Fill it up today. We're getting there. Glenn-Clark on Venmo. Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal. Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. $20. Half the pot to the winner, half the pot to show your soft side. Get in today. Fill that thing up. Thanks, everybody at Pressbox. Hey, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. You know, the Orioles are doing no fees on single-game tickets today. Until tonight, no fees on single-game tickets. I think that you still have to pay they can't do anything about taxes. That's not them. But if
come on, they're the Orioles.
I know,
take them away.
But fees they are waiving for today only until I think midnight. Single game tickets this season. You can go to Orioles.com and get those tickets fee-free. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA Maryland Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Navy lacrosse. Go Maryland baseball. Duke sucks.